She was told to play a simple tune. Then she unleashed a piano. Jewel ... The concert hall of the celestial chorus was a marvel of galactic engineering. Its vaulted ceiling shimmered with captured starlight, and the acoustics were tuned to accommodate the harmonic scales of a dozen species. Tonight's audience was a tapestry of the universe's elite, mollusk-like glythians in fluid-filled support spheres, the feathered avex with their intricate crests, and the stony, deliberate Thren. Among them, a small contingent of humans sat, quiet and unobtrusive. They were the invitees, the newcomers still learning the complex etiquette of a melody-governed civilization. On stage, the conductor, a being of light and resonant crystal, addressed the lone human figure at the grand piano. The instrument was alone, a gesture of cultural exchange. Its ebony and ivory keys were familiar, yet its internal sound matrix was alien, capable of frequencies human ears could not perceive. You will perform the asterisk prelude in standard harmonic calibration. Third form asterisk, the conductor intoned, its voice a soft chime. It is a simple, stabilizing tune, a gesture of harmony. Do not deviate. The pianist nodded, her hands resting lightly on the keys. She had been chosen for her technical precision, her ability to replicate, not innovate. The galactic community appreciated human dexterity, but found their native music chaotic, too emotional, too unpredictable. It was a test, everyone knew. A simple test. Pass and humanity would earn a slightly louder voice in the chorus. Fail, and they would remain background singers for another century. She began to play. The notes were clean, exact, mathematically perfect. They floated through the hall, a pleasant, antiseptic stream of sound. The glythians pulsed gently in their spheres. The avex preened a feather. The Thren did not move, which was their form of approval. It was competent. It was boring. It was exactly what was ordered. But as her fingers moved through the prescribed patterns, a cold loneliness settled in her chest. This was not music. This was data entry. She remembered the dusty upright in her grandmother's farmhouse, the way the old wood smelled of sunshine and resin. She remembered the joy of a clumsy fortissimo, the sorrow of a minor key on a rainy day, the silly, skipping tunes of childhood. That was music. This was obedience. A subtle shift occurred. It was not a conscious decision to rebel, but a failure of the spirit to remain restrained. Her thumb, on a turn, pressed a fraction deeper, lingering on a note just beyond the calibrated duration. The note bloomed, warmer than the score allowed. A faint ripple went through the conductor's crystalline form. She continued, the ghost of a folk song from a forgotten earth country weaving itself into the next phrase. The left hand, tasked with a repetitive harmonic anchor, began to echo the rhythm of a human heartbeat. The simple tune was still recognizable, but now it had a shadow, a depth, a pulse. The avex stopped preening. Their crests stiffened. The pianist closed her eyes. She was no longer in the gleaming hall. She was at that old piano, the window open to a summer storm. She played the fear of the thunder, the promise of the rain, the green smell of the world washed clean. Her fingers translated memory into sound. The rigid calibration shattered dot what poured from the piano was no longer just sound. It was color where there should have been none. It was the scent of ozone and wet earth in a sterile room. It was the tactile memory of worn ivory under eager fingers. The glythians in their spheres began to sway, not with calm pleasure, but with a profound, unsettling agitation. The fluid around them swirled with colors they had no names for, emotions their tranquil existence had never required. The Thren, beings who communicated in geological time, felt a seismic shift. The music was erosion and uplift, the cracking of continental plates and the patient drip of a cavern's growth. It was a symphony of time that moved too fast, that felt too much. and then she reached the bridge dot in the original score. It was a 7-note ascending pattern, a reset to the main theme. She played the 7 notes, but as she reached the apex, her right hand swept down the keys in a cascade that was pure, undiluted joy. It was a laughing child, a sudden sunrise, a leap of faith. It was a human spirit, unbound. The piano responded deep within its alien sound matrix, a subsystem never accessed by the precise, emotionless music of its creators activated. It was a failsafe, a forgotten artistic relic from the instrument's own long-dead designers. It interpreted the human emotion, the wild, beautiful data of her playing, not as an error, but as a key. From the body of the grand piano, a light erupted. Not the harsh light of the hall, but a soft, gem-like luminescence. It coalesced above the soundboard, a swirling, intricate mandala of resonating energy. A jewel, a piano jewel, a phenomenon theorized but never witnessed. A perfect crystallized record of a unique, transcendent musical moment. The light played across the hall, and with it came the music amplified, purified. It was no longer just heard. It was felt in the core of every being present. The conductor was motionless, its light dimmed in awe, or perhaps in shock. The rigid hierarchy of its musical understanding offered no framework for this. This was not deviation. This was creation. For the humans in the audience, it was a shock of homesickness and pride. They heard earth in that jewel. They heard struggle and love in the messy, glorious noise of life. One diplomat, a stern man, found tears cutting tracks through his carefully composed demeanor. For the Avics, it was terrifying and beautiful. Their music was about social order and precise pitch matching. This was a sonic hurricane, a forest growing, a predator's cry, and a nestling's sigh all at once. It overwhelmed their senses, and yet they could not look away from the glowing jewel. The Glythians experienced it as a tidal wave of primal sensation, a return to an oceanic chaos they had evolutionarily left behind. It was profoundly disturbing, and yet more real than anything in their controlled existence. The music concluded not with a prescribed final chord, but with a slow, gentle decrescendo that faded into a silence so deep it felt sacred. The piano jewel pulsed once, softly, and dimmed, leaving only its afterimage on the retina and the soul. The hall remained utterly still. The conductor finally moved, gliding to the edge of the stage. It looked at the human pianist, who sat with her head bowed, her hands now still in her lap, afraid of what she had done. "You were told to play a simple tune," the conductor said. Its chime now muted, thoughtful. She looked up, bracing for condemnation, for expulsion. I apologize. I did not mean to—" "You did not mean to," the conductor interrupted, "unlock a truth we had forgotten." It turned its luminous form to the audience, to the stunned galaxy. "We sought calibration. We demanded harmony through uniformity. We asked for a note and received instead a universe." It gestured to the piano, where the jewel's light still lingered like a whisper. "This piano jewel is not a violation. It is a document. It proves that music is not merely a system of orderly vibrations. It is the translation of experience, of memory, of life." The conductor returned its gaze to the human. "Your species is not simple. Your music is not chaotic. It is dense. It is layered with the history of a world that never knew peace, that loved and lost and fought and built upon its scars. You were asked for a glass of water, and you gave us an ocean." The silence broke, not with applause, which seemed too crude, but with a slow, collective exhalation of 1,000 different forms. A Glythian sphere flashed a complex pattern of deep respect. An Avix bowed its head, crests fanned in a gesture of supreme accolade. The Thren, in a move that would be discussed for cycles, subtly shifted their mass, A mountain acknowledging a volcano. The pianist rose, her legs unsteady. She was not a hero. She was just a person who had been homesick at a piano. But in that moment, she understood. Humanity's place in the chorus would not be in the bland harmony of the background. It would be as the composers of the storms, the weavers of the complex, aching, joyful counterpoints that made the universal symphony truly complete. She had been told to play a simple tune, and in her refusal, in her simple act of remembering who she was, she had not just played music. She had shown a galaxy, grown sterile in its perfection, the priceless, chaotic, brilliant jewel of a human heart.